Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. And Joyce, it's time for another episode, a mailbag episode.
Our second one, sophomore slump.
No, we have so many good emails, Joyce. So many people emailed us this
Good
week.
emails, bad answers.
Oh, great
How
answer.
long are these emails? We
I've
got we
curated,
had a
I've,
very, very long one last week.
I've curated, and actually Jonathan is back, who's the long emailer from last week, but his is shorter this week.
Okay.
Jonathan, like so many others, emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. And you can too if you're watching or listening. And we'll talk to you through the computer or your headphones. A lot of good emails this week, Joyce, but I'm going to start with our old fave, Harold and Maud. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I hope you're doing well. This may be a bit of a personal question, but how many unread emails do you guys have? Not being an industry insider like yourselves, I only have 8,923, but I'm curious to see how fast those FYC messages add up for you. I need more here, but I want to pause here to do the emails. Joyce, I never have unread emails. Everything is marked read.
Well, in my work email, everything is marked read. In my personal email, I have a lot of unread emails.
I'm a zero inbox guy. Everything is read,
Yeah.
reported for
Yeah,
spam,
my
deleted,
work email, I'm like zero. So,
and lots of FYC stuff.
yeah, some especially like duplicates I delete.
Let me ask you this. So far, what movies have gotten the most emails to you this year?
Well, it's hard to say because right now we're in the middle of New York Film Festival, so like a lot of those for just like all the films. Um, I guess like I've gone just because the movie has been out longer, I've gone a lot of Sing Sing. Um, and like Dune has come back around recently.
We got a Sing Sing one this week. They're doing screenings, Joyce. They're bringing it
Yeah,
back. It's
yeah.
officially back. I have the Outrun. I have had 55
Oh, the
emails
Outrun has a
already.
lot, yeah.
Do you get
But
more texts from political candidates telling you to vote or emails about the Outrun?
I get about the same amount of texts from the Clinton Foundation as I do about the Outrun just opening. It's not even about a screening, it's just like it's opening this week.
Coming soon. And they have it formatted where it's like, I don't know if it's yours, it's like very spaced. The text is spaced. Outrun is like diffused.
Yeah. And sometimes like I'm on my personal email is also on these mailings, so I get the double.
Always.
Yeah.
Uh, Great email. Well, this is a great email segment about emails, but Harold and Mod slash Aiden here has an actual question. Uh, Wanted to get some hate into the air by saying we must just abolish best original song. It's a silly category that has genuinely a suspicious corruption issue. Are we even sure Tell It Like a Woman played in enough theaters to qualify for the Oscars? With Diane Warren getting nominated for everything but never winning, such a dramatic gap between the branch and the Academy just looks bad. I can appreciate some of the winners, but this is the only category I would actively push to get to 3 slots because they clearly cannot be trusted to pick 5 non-sleep inducing songs. Lastly, New Body Rumba by LCD Sound System is probably the most upsetting Oscar omission of this decade for me, especially because they didn't even go with the expected lineup. Thanks. From Harold and Maude.
I haven't thought about that song in what, 2 years?
Can't agree. I can't abide by the New Body Rumba, but I will say I can't wait for Diane Warren to get nominated again for her song from
I mean,
Six
as
Triple
soon
Eight.
as that the news came out months ago that she has a song in Six Triple, I'm like locked up a spot immediately.
Maybe it
Just
should just be
reserve a
four
spot every
slots.
year for
Maybe it
her.
should just be 4 slots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 slots and then Diane Warren. Yeah.
The Diane Warren Memorial slot.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think, I mean, I don't know if you need to abolish it, but it needs reform in some way. I don't know what the answer is.
I, this year is interesting because I think right now, if you ask people, it would be like, oh, obviously something from Emili Pérez, but like those are not traditional catchy pop songs, I would say, in the musical.
Yeah, no, I did not come out of the movie like singing any of the songs. I can't even tell you the melody of any of the songs right now.
But I will say, on the horizon, we've got Lin-Manuel Miranda EGOTing maybe for Lion King Mufasa or Mufasa the Lion King, and whatever they're doing for Moana 2. So there's stuff coming that maybe will be make it fun. But right now it's a little strange. You excited for the Blitz song, Winter's
My
Coat?
favorite thing about the Blitz song is that you didn't realize that was an original. Well, you didn't know what the song was, and we had already seen the movie.
Correct. I was like, obviously this is some standard British song, but no, it's a pastiche of that because that's what it is sounds like in the film.
And
Uh,
yeah, because like when I was watching it, I was like, I think this is an original song.
You were right. I was wrong. I just believe I believe the illusion. That's how much of a great filmmaker Steve McQueen is. We'll talk about Blitz more next week, Joyce. I think the category is a mess. I don't know what the answer is to fix it though.
Yeah. I don't because like obviously they're just voting for their friends, their friend being Diane Warren.
And they love Diane. Her
You know,
her
and as I've said millions of times, she would probably already be a winner if winner voting were just limited to the branch,
mhm,
you know. Um, but yeah, I think the other issue that we've talked ad nauseam about is credit songs.
tough.
Yeah.
This one's from our pal Justin. Joyce emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi there, Joyce and Chris. I've written before about the 2017 director lineup and baseball too. I hope we get a Subway Series. Joyce, we're recording this on Thursday before the Mets
Um,
play tonight. So
I
I don't
know
know if
it's
we're gonna get one.
1-1. I don't know.
I don't even want to talk about it because I don't want to jinx it. But I don't think the Yankees are going to make the World Series no matter what. So anyway, here's Justin. You said last week that Saoirse Ronan, they like Saoirse Ronan in New York City. I think people don't realize she was actually born in Woodlawn in the Bronx. She could run for
I
president.
do know that.
I knew you would know it. I don't think our listeners maybe did.
Probably not.
My question is, how many misses does it take until the industry feels like they owe, in all caps, someone an Oscar? 3, 5? Bradley Cooper has like 12. And how bad of a movie do you think he will finally win King Richard as Oscar for?
I don't think there's a set number clearly because Glenn Close is 0 for 8. So it's about timing, really.
I think it's about timing. I don't think they're as sentimental as you think. And I actually don't think, in case of Saoirse, like, I don't think the Dune narrative to me doesn't exist for her because she's still way too young. She's been lucky or
Hey, you're the
just,
one who's been boarding the it's her year train.
well, I think it's her year in terms of like she'll get 2 nominations, but never to not to win. I don't think. I'm also
I mean,
like,
I think the two nominations will be because it's not that common anyway, and I think she needs both films to be strong.
we could talk about Blitz more next week, but I was thinking this with Outrun. I think if it like the reason I'm like bullish on that more than like something like Hard Truth for Marianne Jean Baptiste or any of the other contenders that we haven't seen really, it's just because of Sony Picture Classics. And I was like, if it wasn't that, I don't think anybody would really have her taken seriously as
Oh no,
much.
I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I think she can definitely get in with the outrun and um maybe win. I don't know, but like I think that is um probably her likelier shot.
And with
And it's like, but like they're asking about her winning, which is a different conversation. So I
right.
mean, it's like probably too early to talk about her winning, but there is like somewhat of a path there. You could argue if you don't believe in like Mikey Madison or Carla Sofia Gascon, or Angelina Jolie or Nicole Kidman, right? And I think like especially Saoirse Stans, who want her to win, they think like it is her time because she does have two movies this year and she could get two nominations and she's a four-time nominee and she's 30 years old. But I don't think like the industry like cares or pay attention to that type of stuff. And I think you need kind of like the outcry to be more overwhelming, like in a way like it was with like Leo. It was like when is Leo gonna win an Oscar, right? I think there needs to be kind of more awareness about that. And I think the difference between her and someone like him, and you can even say like with Kate Winslet, since people like when she officially went supporting for Blitz, that was a lot the comp for her. Like I think the difference is like they were are like huge movie stars. Like they had Titanic. And I think like everyone knows about them and knows they might not be able to name all their Oscar nominations like the general audience, but they know they've been nominated a bunch of times and have not won. And I don't think like general audiences know that about Saoirse Ronan.
100% agree. I also think it's too young to be She's Due. I just don't believe that. So
Yeah.
like, and she stacked up nominations because she was so young, obviously with her first nomination and like was in movies that did performed really well in Best Picture contenders and nominees. And this year, maybe the Outrun certainly, maybe Blitz. I think Blitz is still getting again, but like the Outrun is not a serious Best Picture nominee. No disrespect to the movie, so I'm like, it's going to be harder for her to win. I think for that, and I think she'll get it. So I don't know when is the threshold for her being due. 10 years from now, maybe if she still hasn't won. I mean, like I
I
don't
mean,
know.
look at Amy Adams. Amy Adams has more nominations than she does. Obviously, she's older than her, and she got her six in a shorter amount of time too.
Right.
And
So
she
I
still
don't.
hasn't won.
Right. This one's from Michael. Different Michael. The other Michael, Games Michael, is also coming up, Joyce, obviously. This is from a different Michael. Hi, Joyce and Chris. This question is mainly for Joyce, but I appreciate both of you. Can you explain why you have September 5 in picture and not an original screenplay? Now, Joyce, I don't know if you've updated since this last email came in, but that's what he asks. It's a bit weird to me because that absolutely isn't the kind of film that gets into picture without screenplay. In my opinion, it makes more sense to have a real pain in picture, given not only that you have an original screenplay, and again, not September 5, but also that you have Kieran Culkin winning supporting actor, which I absolutely agree with. I think he's going to win, if not sweep, a la J.K. Simmons. I really do think A Real Pain could be even a top 5 contender. I also don't really see September 5 happening in general. I know a lot of people are predicting it partially because of the subject matter, but judging by the 79 on Metacritic and the 3.5 score on Letterboxd, most people seem to think it's good, not great. Honestly, giving me She Said vibes. Maybe I'm completely wrong, though. What do you think? I'm anxious to hear your thoughts. Sorry if my question came off as confrontational. I'm just genuinely wondering. Love from Connecticut. That's from Michael, and he has
Connecticut.
a smiley face.
Michael, you're like overanalyzing my picks more than I am. I just put September 5th in there because I needed a 10th movie. And then I didn't touch anything until like 2 days ago, really. And then I put Baby Girl in to original screenplay instead of September 5th.
Okay.
So I don't really have a reasoning for that. So, but
We've seen September 5th.
yes, I love it. You
It's
know,
great.
it's a total Joyce movie, Olympics journalism process movie.
And I think I've seen people online like because it's been like it became like an immediate pundit fave, Joyce, when it premiered at Telluride. Yeah, Scott Feinberg was like got a Best Picture contender here if
Doesn't
somebody
he
picks
have
it
it in
up.
like first or something?
I think so. Clayton was like, if this gets picked up, immediate Best Picture contender, and like then it was like Paramount was like, okay, we'll release it because they were trying to sell it off, but they were like, we're gonna release it, and so I think people are like kind of not taking it super seriously, and
Yeah,
obviously it
it's
doesn't
one
come
of those
out.
films that was not on anyone's radar before festival, so now it feels like it's a fake movie.
Exactly. And I think people are like surprised that you and I both have it in for picture. I have it in for screenplay, and also Peter Sarsgaard I put in for supporting actor now that he's officially going supporting actor. I think the movie is great. It's super watchable. It is
Mhm.
exactly the kind of movie that a certain wing of the Academy has seriously loved in the past. Spotlight, Argo. I don't think it's going to win like those did, but I mean that's if you're wondering why people think it's like as good or better than both of those movies, and both those movies won Best Picture. So it's a different Academy now, I think, even from Spotlight time. And don't know if it's going to go far, but like I could see like if they get it out there enough, I actually do like it could be in play for SAG Ensemble nomination. I don't think that's like totally foreign.
The Yeah, if it like really hits, like the whole ensemble is great.
Like we said that walking out, like every actor in it is
Mhm.
amazing. It's just like they're just so
Yeah, I
good.
was talking to someone who was not you walking out about it. So
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Um,
Great. And like I've put Sarsgaard in because I feel like it's his year too, basically, because of like Presumed Innocent, and I think people really like him and are like you were saying, Memory. Remember
Opie Cup
Memory?
winner, Peter Sarsgaard from memory.
I think it's possible he gets in a supporting actor lineup, especially if it's like a big Best Picture contender. I think it could borderline be top 5 contender by the time like we get to the end of the year, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, like I should probably have it in more categories, but I'm just not really, I don't spend a lot of time on these.
I
That's
gotta
the
look at
truth of the thing. Like I don't update as frequently as Chris does. Because Chris sees a movie and if he likes it, he's like immediately in first or second.
no,
Which is
not
what
this
he
year.
listen, she said, you immediately put it into.
She Said was great, and actually,
Um
this is like I mean I love She Said. I think September 5 is like
I
She
love
Said,
She Said too,
but
but
I think it's like
yeah, like
more
I mean I put September 5th in before I saw it just because I
correct.
needed a 10th movie. So yeah, I should probably have it in screenplay. Maybe acting. Like it could also get, like editing too. Like the editing is really great in the movie. It's
Yes,
just like a really tight um like journalism thriller. I don't know like what people think this movie is about. Like it's not actually about the hostage crisis. It's about the reporting and the coverage
correct.
of
I,
it.
I have it in for screenplay. My screenplay 5 right now are Honora the Brutalist for original, Honora the Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5, and Saturday Night. I could see Baby Girl getting in, especially if Nicole is going to get in for Best Actress, which I think we both have. And that looks great. The trailer looked fun, and like, why not? So maybe like one of these drops out. Saturday Night would probably be the one I drop out, even though I really like it. I think it'll get in, but I'm like, yeah, I think September 5 could. I don't think it's good. Like, it would be. It could win for Best Picture, I guess, but I'm not ready to go there yet. I don't know. I
No,
don't think
I'm
that's
not moving this like
no.
I mean, I didn't change anything in like the
I have
bottom
it
half
in
of my best
I
picture.
have it in sixth because I think it's in the top. I think you could argue it's once more people see it, I think it will hit that top 6 threshold for sure. Because it's
I mean, they
almost,
are they've added more screenings since
yeah,
we've
they
seen it.
have. And
So
they're pushing it. They know they have like a good movie. It's just a really good movie. So
yeah,
like
it's a really well-made movie. Even if it doesn't get any Oscar love, like I think this is a movie that most people will enjoy liking, and it'll have a long shelf life. Like it'll just be a movie that some people might watch like 3 years from now and like it, you know.
I agree. I think it could go. And I also think it'll play well internationally because of the subject and because it's made internationally. It's not like, like
Yeah, like I think that's also another reason why people are, I guess, suspicious of predictions for it because it's German made and everything, just with an American cat, mostly American. Or I
what
guess Peter
about
Sarsgaard is like
Saoirse I love, and then supporting actress, I'm gonna say butcher her name, but
Leone.
Lenny,
Yeah, she's
how do you say
great.
it?
Leone.
What is it?
Leone. Have you never seen that name before?
Leone, and then what's her last name? Bensech?
Nesh.
Benesh. Okay, great. She's great from Teacher's Lounge.
Yes, she's great, and Ben Chaplin and John Magaro.
I could see Leone getting in for supporting actress if the movie really pops. I don't have her in, but I think like she's in the 6 to 10 range. Like she's very good. Uh, this is from our old pal KM Joyce. Emailed us at slugfest@goldriver.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. In last week's mailbag episode, you read an email in which someone asked when the last time the Best Director lineup had only first-time nominees. You didn't answer it, so I have designated myself as the head researcher of the Slugfest. The answer is 1998. The nominees were James Cameron for Titanic, Peter Cattaneo for The Full Monty, Adam McGoyan for Sweet Hereafter, Curtis Hanson for LA Confidential, and Gus Van Sant for Good Will Hunting. Have a good one.
Thank you. You're hired. There's no pay. Sorry.
My pal Tony used to be, still is. All right, guys, but he was stat boy on Around the Horn. Remember when, or on a PTI before he started Around the Horn, and this is what his job was basically to correct the hosts. So KM on his way to being stat boy maybe for us.
Yeah, like one of my dream jobs is just being an Olympics researcher.
Be great. Have you on in the corner, pop up, tell everybody what they did
Yeah, because
wrong.
like I don't want I hate being the center of attention, but I just want things to be accurate, you
Now
know.
here's the other Mike Joyce emailing us. Games Mike, no game. Just getting that off the top.
It's been a while since he's had a
I think
game.
he's got to probably. I would imagine because he was so castigated by certain listeners. I think maybe he's taking a break. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's me again, Mike. I laughed when you announced that the mailbag segment is now its own separate episode, as it means there are a lot of annoying people like me who have been sending you emails. Thank you for giving us our own spotlight because we need the attention. Just kidding. But truly, we appreciate this. Also, I don't get why people are still commenting about my games, even though it's been a month or even more since we last played. I don't think there's going to be another game anytime soon since I'm too lazy to think of a new one. Anyway, I watched The Substance recently and had so much fun. It was worth the hype, especially on Demi Moore's performance. The last 20 minutes were wild. I love it. I have also seen Megalopolis, and oh my god, what the hell was that? I know people like David Ehrlich are praising it and calling it a masterpiece. I respect their take, but come on, let's be serious. Why are we giving a pass when revered filmmakers make bad movies? Obviously, it's not going to be a major Oscar player, but it's still worth seeing for us movie lovers because it's Coppola's comeback film. Needless to say, I really didn't like it. It was so all over the place, especially the performances of the cast. Each of them had their own assignment, and they were not in sync. I admire Coppola's ambition and betting on himself, but the film did not work for me. It is incohesive. A lot of bizarre stuff that does not make sense unless you are under shrooms. The supposed message is also wonky. Also, there were only 4 of us in the cinema when I watched it. I want to ask if you two have seen Megalopolis. If yes, what do you think? Also, I watched the pilot episode of Dr. Odyssey. Let's fucking go. I love that every minute of the voyage there is a new medical case somehow. Also, Joshua Jackson's character being the first COVID patient is such a Ryan Murphy move. LOL. Feel free to weigh in on that as well. Anyway, have a great day. That's from Mike.
I have not seen Megalopolis, but I'm totally happy to talk about Dr. Pacey.
Why don't you talk about Dr. Loveboat? Is what I call
Dr.
it.
Pacey, the correct title,
Okay.
is fantastic. On tonight, second episode, Thursday, as we're recording this. So every week, every episode is a new theme. So tonight is singles week with Court Overstreet.
This is great.
So I can't wait.
I gotta watch this
Yeah,
show.
but I can't believe you haven't watched it yet.
Because
You're
there's
so
not
rude.
enough time in the day.
You're so rude. But yeah, the pilot was fantastic, obviously. They went through a plethora of cases, including a penile fracture, and then we got there was like a beach dance party between him and Philippa Sue. And yeah, we get the flashback to him being patient zero for COVID. I clocked that immediately because you saw like March 2020. I'm like, oh, so
That's like morning show shit.
this is better than the morning show.
Wow, high praise then, because you know how much we love the morning show. I did not see Megalopolis either. I don't think I'll have a chance to see it, but I will watch it on the computer on my iPad, just as Francis Ford Coppola meant it to be seen. I did see the clip of Adam Driver being like, "So go back to the club," and I was like,
Well,
"Man,
yes.
this is a lot." I don't know. I also I think like David Ehrlich likes to troll, so I'm like, when he does a masterpiece, I don't know if he actually believes it, but maybe he does.
Yeah, some people like to be contrarian.
And then the substance choice.
Your
I also
favorite
watched it.
movie?
I liked it a lot. It's great. I'm actually now more on, and my big takeaway was, and we talked about this on our Golden Globes episode, but I think the switch is going to be actually Coralie Farjay could get in maybe for as a directing nominee more so than Demi Moore as an acting nominee. I actually think that branch could go for it. I don't know if they will, but I think she'll get it at the Globes. Like we said, I think the Critics' Choice Awards will keep adding slots until she makes it in, and then like it'll make it the
No,
momentum
they'll
will feel
just
more real.
expand to 10 like they did 2 years ago.
Right. And I think the momentum will start to feel real. And I do think the work in the movie would appeal to whatever we think of that like 120 old crusty male directors in the director's branch. Because it's so like in your face and bold. So I could actually see her getting in more than Demi, who I think is great in the movie, but not in it as much as I thought, and matched by Margaret Qualley almost beat for beat. I thought Margaret Qualley is like great in it. So I don't know.
Sure.
Next up is Jonathan Joyce, who emailed us last week at slugfest@goldderby.com, and I'm still reading his old email, but this one is a little shorter. So, hi, Joyce and Chris. This is Jonathan again, but with two shorter questions. You're welcome. Is Gladiator 2 going to be next year's Avatar: The Way of Water, a sequel that wasn't respected as heavily as the original by the Academy and received 5 less nominations than the first Avatar? The original Gladiator received 12. Could the sequel also just receive the same exact 3 nominations as Napoleon: Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, and Best Visual Effects? Or will it receive more? The Way of Water didn't receive noms for cinematography and score, which I think will be the same fate for Gladiator 2. Composer Harry Gregson Williams has never been nominated for an Oscar. Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor for Denzel, Best Sound, or what I believe for Gladiator 2 will be nominated. However, Paramount might push harder for September 5 and focus on their main priority. Scott Feinberg at The Hollywood Reporter currently has it #1 on his Best Picture
I
ballot.
was right.
Best Supporting Actor for Peter Sarsgaard and Best Original Screenplay. Those 6 for Best Director. Weird. I mean, even being bullish on the movie, I don't think the director is going to get in with the other names present, but I don't know. Plus, what do you believe will be next year's lone screenplay nominee? Specifically, Best Original Screenplay, which seems to be the more prominent category this happens in, and a trend that has occurred at the 2015 to 2020 ceremonies, with a 3-year break until this year with May December. Other recent examples of loneness have been Knives Out, First Reformed, The Big Sick, The Lobster, and Nightcrawler. The criminally snubbed Jake Gyllenhaal comes to mind with the latter film. Hell yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal should have won an Oscar for Nightcrawler. My hunch is Saturday Night, which feels very much like Knives Out with a huge ensemble and respected filmmaker. The Knives did receive a SAG Ensemble nomination, which makes me think this could happen for Saturday Night. Thanks for reading my message. That's from Jonathan. First, way better, Jonathan. That's the length. You hit it.
Still kind of long, but that had an edit. I'm like,
And it had you know what? It also had a flow. I'm okay with the length if it has a flow. That was a good email. Really good. Let's start Gladiator 2, Joyce. Haven't seen it. I like the comp though.
Yeah, and it could happen. I mean, I don't know. You know, I think there are a lot of people who are excited about it, but also wary because of Ridley's recent output and how that has been received, whether or not the film itself is good.
I think that's true. I think these are also really competitive categories below the line. That said, I think Gladiator has the benefit of the doubt. I think as the as a Best Picture nominee because it's like the last sequel standing, basically, that will probably be better received than these other sequels that have kind of fallen by the wayside. So I think that helps. I think Denzel is like a lock to get nominated to me just because he's Denzel, and it seems like even if he's in 6 scenes, it's a hilarious, juicy part, and I feel like he'll get in. And then I think like yeah, sound, production design, visual effects, costume design are all kind of in play, and so maybe it gets to like I don't I was like there's no to me 12 would be I mean it would have to really hit to get 12, but I think I can get like 6 to 7, maybe even 9. I guess, if it's really good, right? Like,
Yeah, like I don't really think Paul Mescal would get in. I mean, if you think about it, like Russell winning for that is such a anomaly type of win too, you know. But
yeah,
I kind of love that he won for that. No, I do love that he won for that because I don't think you would immediately clock Gladiator or Maximus as an Oscar-winning role just because it was just a summer blockbuster, you know.
I watched it again this year to prepare for Gladiator 2 because I hadn't seen it in a while, and I'm like, it's like just a big ass movie star performance. He's so good in it.
Yeah, I think
Like,
it's like it's one of the rare wins for an actual movie star performance that everyone knows about.
yeah, I I don't think Paul. I had Paul in for a little bit before like Queer came along with Daniel Craig, and now I'm like, I don't think Daniel Craig maybe he's gonna get, but we'll see. Um, but I feel like Denzel is the play, and I think if it's really good, I still think Pedro Pascal. I could see it getting like him in also because I get the sense he's got like a very juicy role too. If the movie is great and people really like it, I don't see why he wouldn't get in or why he couldn't get in a category that I think is not super deep. Um, but I don't think the Gladiator. I think it'll do better than Way of Water, but I don't know. I don't think it'll do as well as the original Gladiator. Maybe something in the middle of those two options. And then original screenplay lone nominee, Joyce. That's a great question. Uh, you had Baby Girl, but we both have Nicole in, so it wouldn't be a lone nominee.
I mean, I also have Saturday Night, so it could just be that. So
So Saturday Night, I have two. I just think that it'll get in one of these other. The crafts are so good.
yeah, the crowds are really good. So I don't. It could be that, but I don't. I feel like it could get into score, the
I think Score
costumes.
would
Yeah.
definitely get in for Saturday Night. I think John Batiste would be like a top five. Costumes and production design as well, but less so. But I'm like, I don't know. That'll be a lone nominee. A Real Pain obviously is not a lone nominee. Like,
I mean, it could be September 5th if it doesn't get anything else, like just the script. But I don't know if I would say like the script is like such a killer highlight of the film. Like the script is good and really tight, but you know, it doesn't feel like writerly, you know what I
no.
mean?
I my
So,
mine right now, based on what I think, haven't seen it. We're seeing it actually today as you're watching this. So who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind. But I have the room next door in for adapted screenplay. I know it's not original. Um, but I don't think that's gonna get I don't have that getting any other above the line nominations, and I'm not sure it would make it in below the line. So if I see it and I change my mind or like I'm like, oh, this is great, sure, then maybe that. But I could see that being like a lone screenplay nominee for Almodovar.
yeah, I guess I could also see Hard Truths being like that, especially if Marianne Jean-Baptiste doesn't get in. I saw that yesterday. Great film. She's
I,
fantastic. She deserves
mhm.
to win, but other factors might prevent her from even being nominated.
Let me ask you this diplomatically about this movie. If that was the Sony Classics release and not the Outrun, would you be more confident in her getting in, even with the idea that she's playing a
Yes.
difficult woman, which is a
Yes.
barrier for male voters who don't like that?
Yeah, if that character, if Pansy were a guy, everyone would be like, "Oh, she's like top two right now."
Exactly. So understanding the inherent sexism around this conversation, but if it was a different distributor, would be more inclined to put her in.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's still like it probably would feel like she would be nominated, but like probably not win,
Right.
you
Yeah, I
know.
don't think I'm more I don't I think this year the wins are I think it's too top heavy to have her actually maybe win. But I had her in and I took her out to put Saoirse back in, but now I'm like maybe I should take Saoirse out and put her back in. I don't know. I still want to like hold out for I still think Nicole will make it in personally. And so I'm like I think the top four I feel pretty confident in and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with that last spot. But yeah, One of my friends was like, if the people who see this movie are gonna like they think the passion is gonna be so strong for her that she'll get in because the people who love it are gonna really love it. But I do feel like that's true. But I think there's other performances too this year that qualify for that in this category, and I don't know.
I think it's also like her character, and then the the film like it doesn't handhold you, so I think some people might not like that either.
Right.
Like people like to be spoon-fed.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
but it's great.
This one's from Sam. Emailed us at slugfest@golder.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. First, I have to thank Joyce for turning me on to the English teacher. Some of the episodes have left me in
It's just English,
tears.
you can know the
Oh, sorry.
minor.
Some of the episodes have left me in tears from laughter. Give it all the Emmys.
It's great. I don't know what episode they're on this week because I just watched the screeners, but it's almost over, I think, because there's only 8 episodes.
Next, I want to know your thoughts on One Wild Robot. I was won over by the end, but I had an issue with them skipping over Bright Bill growing up and seeing Roz bond with him more and more. It kind of just went from being a baby and her not sure what to do with him straight to mother and bratty teen. Similarly, Fink seemed to go from manipulating Roz to generally caring for them within a day, but ultimately got a bit choked up at the end, and I think the score of recent Oscar winner Chris Bowers has a lot to do with it. I've been playing the track. I could use a boost on repeat. What chances do you think it has as an original score nominee? Thanks. That's from Sam.
You finally saw One Wild Robot.
I saw One Wild Robot this week. I fucking loved it. I think it's the best animated movie of the year by far of what I've seen. Now, I
Did you
haven't seen a
cry?
lot of the indie ones. I cried so many times. I think it's like a beautiful movie. I actually disagree with Sam because I like that. The thing I liked about it was it felt such simple storytelling. It's like it just starts. The robot gets thrown into the woods. All the animals are like trying to fucking mess around with it. It learns how to speak their language, and then it meets it by accident. Basically, it ends up raising this bird, and then it has the early stages of like being a mom, and then it cuts to like it just jumps time to being like a teen, like he says. I thought that was like really great. I like enjoyed that because there's not a lot of hand holding, and it felt like less calculated than a lot of other animated movies I see for kids. What I pushed back on was the last act gets a little. It felt like there's like action scenes in the last act where I was just like, this feels like maybe like, hey, we need to judge this up to
Studio
get like,
note.
yeah, it did a little bit like feel like a studio note, though I know it's obviously based on a book, so maybe that's also happens in the book series. But I thought it was wonderful. I don't know if it'll get in for Best Picture, but I think it should easily win animated. And I love the score. It's like Chris Bowers doing like Thomas Newman. That's what it sounds like to me. I just loved it. I think it could. I think it'll absolutely get in, and I think it could win over Dune. But I don't know if it'll go that far. And then I also think this original song, back to that from Harold and Maude earlier, but Maren Morris has an original song that's in the movie. That's like a huge montage in the movie. It's called "Kiss the Sky," and I was like, "This is gonna win Best Original Song." I think it'll win because it's so good, and it plays such a huge part in the movie where it's not a credit song. So I'm all in on Wild Robot. I also think, what if it gets in for adapted screenplay? I think it'd be in play as well.
I mean, it's pretty weak this year, so
So it could get in for adapted screenplay, score, song, an animated feature. That's for. I don't think it'll get in for Best Picture, but I do think. I think the benefit it has, the detriment is obviously that it's animated. So that's like probably
I
a
don't think it will
problem.
get into Best Picture. I think if the animated feature category did not exist, it has a better shot. But I think
It's still a
yeah,
cartoon. So
it's
also,
not gonna
I,
happen.
I was also like, I know they're never gonna do this, but I was like, man, Lupita Nyong'o's so good in this. Like her voice work is like, I mean, after I saw Transformers 1, I was like, man, Chris Hemsworth sucks in this. Like I just thought like it was such a rough voice performance. I didn't like it at all, and I love him. I loved him in Furiosa, but I just like this does not work. And none of the voice performances really stood out in that one. But in Wild Robot, I was like, oh my god, she's so good. And like Pedro Pascal is really great. He plays or voices Fink, who's the fox. Um, Great
Well, the
movie.
problem is with stunt casting and voice actors, because that's almost like a totally different skill. It is a totally different skill set, and they're actual very qualified voice actors, but a lot of studios just do stunt casting with big names.
Right. Yeah, it would have been cool. Chris Hemsworth in a Transformers movie, I would be way in on. Chris Hemsworth voicing Optimus Prime, I was less in on.
Well, what was your daughter's review of One Wild Robot?
She really liked it. I don't know if she liked it as much as Transformers, though. She did like Transformers, but she did.
And you
She
hate her for
loved.
that.
I'll tell you this. She loved the song. We've listened to it 100 times already in like 3 days. So I think the song is great.
That's going to be #1 on your Spotify Wrapped.
It will be, and it'll be #1 on my picks when we get to do the original song because I think it's so good. But very big fan of One Wild Robot. I guess the only reason I would, when people were saying like Best Picture, we kind of laughed at that. And then after seeing it, I was like, I think the benefit is it does stand out as like kind of an apple in a bag of oranges because it's like such like a feel good movie, like a life affirming movie. But it's not like alone in that this year, so I don't think it's gonna get in. But
I mean, I don't like I never like you say laugh, but it's like it's I mean, at least for me, like I'm not laughing at a animated movie being in contention. It's more like I don't expect them to predict it. Like it's not, again, it's not a value judgment on the movie.
no, I'm like scoffing at people predicting it, not laughing at the movie. I just don't like they've no like there. It's such a rarity, I think, where they would do it, right? Like
Yeah, and I think it's like again, they have the out with
animated
animated
feature.
feature. So
We love animation on this episode, Joyce. This one's from our pal Nancy, who's emailed before. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Have you seen the upcoming animated documentary film Piece by Piece? If so, what are your thoughts? So far, it has received positive reviews and has 91% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. In regards to the Oscars, do you see it receiving multiple nominations similar to the film Flea back in 2022? For now, I can see it getting 3 nominations: animated feature, doc feature, and original song. We'll have to wait and see what happens depending on the competition. Thanks. That's from Nancy.
I have not seen that yet.
I saw it at Telluride. It's okay. I think it could get in for those 3, but I'm not sure it will get in for those 3. I don't have it in for animated feature right now because I have Wild Robot, Inside Out 2, Flow, Memoirs of a Snail, and Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, I don't have it in either animated or I mean like we haven't done doc, but I don't okay, I guess I'll say I think it has a better shot in animated than doc, having not seen it at all.
I would agree with that just because we've seen the celebrity docs don't use even an inventive one like this that is told using
Yeah.
Legos. That has not been the bag of the documentary branch. So I would be actually very surprised if it got in there. I think it could get in for animated feature, but I just feel like that's actually a very deep category this year. We didn't even mention like Moana 2, obviously, would be hanging out as well. And original song is kind of deep as well, but I think that's its best shot because there's a good Pharrell Williams song in the movie at the end, basically. So I think that would actually be its best shot if I was ranking them. And then I would say song, animated feature, and documentary in that order.
Yeah.
This one is from Tim. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Do you think the fact that Netflix only has U.S. distribution for Emili Pérez will hurt its award season chances, especially with an ever-growing international academy? In Australia, the film won't be released in cinemas until 2 months after it's released on Netflix in the U.S. Do you think it will hurt the accessibility of the film? Same thing happened last year with May December. Thanks for answering my question. Regards. That's from Tim, parentheses, the one not beefing with Game Master Mike.
Oh, wow. Thanks for the clarification. So this Tim doesn't mind the games.
No, loves the games.
Uh, I don't think it would hurt it. And it's also a totally different type of movie than May December.
Netflix is nothing if not bullish on this movie, and I think everyone who needs to see it will see it many
Yeah.
times. So.
They were at the Emili Pérez after party on Monday. All the Netflix peeps were so thrilled with the reception from the premiere, like the in the room in the auditorium, and then just like the vibe at the party too. Like people were feeling the movie.
I think we mentioned this week on our other episode, but really like both Anora and Emili Pérez, I think when you see them, when you hear about them or you're like reading about them, you might be like, this is a great movie, but it's going to only play a very tight window of people. And they have both shown here that they're playing in all different kinds of rooms with all different kinds of audiences. And I think that bodes really well for their potential win as Best Picture, especially Emili Pérez.
Yeah, and even though the film will not be released theatrically for general audiences, like internationally for a while, like it will be, put in front of voters.
Oh yeah.
So
Many
that's
times.
all that matters. This
Madonna
is not
just saw it, Joyce.
Yeah. Like this is not, a People's Choice Award where you're like walking out of your AMC voting for it for the Oscars. So
Wouldn't
it
that be
doesn't
great?
matter that you're not going to see it until like February.
What would win if it was People's Choice Oscars this year?
Oh God.
What's the audience's favorite movie this year?
If it's film Twitter, it's challengers.
Right.
Because that's totally different from real people.
This one is from Leah. Hi, Joyce and Chris. This is my first time emailing, as well as my first time following award season with you
Oh,
guys.
wow. Congratulations.
You're both great. I love Joyce's unbothered queen energy that I especially relate to, and Chris's enthusiasm, period. My question regards Gia Coppola's new film, The Last Showgirl. Have either of you seen it? Is there any world where Pamela Anderson is nominated? I'm not familiar with the smaller critics awards groups, you guys. Could she win any of those awards either? I'm personally love to see Anderson get her flowers from the industry, and I hope she can win something somewhere. Thanks, that's from Leah. I believe Roadside Attractions picked this up. Is that
Yeah,
right?
they picked that up last week. Yeah.
Um, I don't believe that she'll get in at the Oscars, but I think regional critics will probably go for this. I have not seen the movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. Um, yeah, but our girl JLC will stump hard
My prediction is a runner-up win at the LA Film Critics Association for Pamela Anderson.
in a tie because they do
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's where she'll show up on the critics circuit as the major ones. This one is from Rob Howell Gabriel. He's emailed many times. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I can't believe you're getting so many emails now that we're getting jettisoned to a separate episode. It's all the same to me, though, so as long as you continue to drop the radio tease now and then, Chris. What did you think of the new Last of Us trailer? I say engrave the Emmys now because it looks like a stone cold masterpiece. The infected piling on the fence reminded me of Hardhome, excuse me, from Game of Thrones. And the window shots are straight out of Train to Busan. I'd love seeing all the splashy additions to the cast as well. People are saying that if films like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Boy and the Heron couldn't make it into Best Picture, then this year's animated contenders have no shot either. To briefly take on the role of judgmental movie fan, this is the same type of flawed surface level reasoning as thinking that voters would be reluctant to give Emma Stone another Oscar so soon. I'm not predicting an animated film in Best Picture at the moment, but the field is open enough that it should be within the realm of a possibility. Last week you discussed Dune Part 2. I'd like to know what you think of its chances in costume design and makeup and hair at the Oscars. The first film couldn't win either category. But in my opinion, the costumes in part two are a step up from the first, with Leah Seydoux' outfit being memorable standout. Makeup and hair might be tougher given the competition, but hopefully they can reward it this time around, as the makeup on Rebecca Ferguson and the heavy prosthetics on Stellan Skarsgård are incredible. I'm way behind on my Oscar viewing because I've been watching the original X-Men animated series, which I just finished. The untarget audience prevents the show from having any jaw-dropping twists, and the animation is quite dated. The characters explode with personality and are a tremendous joy to watch. Sorry to Hugh Jackman, one of my favorite actors, but Cal Dodd is my new favorite Wolverine. I also think many of the shows today could take a leaf out of its book because the storytelling is quite economic, with most of the episodes being self-contained in 20-minute tales. Finally, do you think Searchlight will run a complete unknown and comedy musical at the Globes to cash in on an easy win for Timothée Chalamet? Thanks for reading and keep up the exemplary work. You guys are a lifeboat in the chaotic waters of award season.
Wow. Are you a good swimmer?
I can swim. I don't
Me
know if
too.
I'd say good.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff here from Gabriel.
Where to begin?
Let's do Last of Us. I thought the trailer was great. I love Pearl Jam, so I was way in on it. It looks like a good show. There you go.
Yeah, good trailer, a good tease. And
Definitely
yeah,
setting up to take if even if they split the game into 2 or 3 seasons, I think the big thing that happens in the second game will happen in the second season based on the trailer. And potentially
pray
early in the
pray for
season.
Caitlin Dever.
Yeah, I actually think early. I think that could be like a Connor's wedding situation on The Last of Us season 2. Would be my take.
How many people do you think are only show watchers of the show and have no idea what's
A
gonna happen?
lot probably, but I think anybody who like probably was interested in the show might have read the Wikipedia page, I would say. So uh calling us out basically for what we just talked about with Wild Robot, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I
I
think
mean, it could get in.
I think it could get in too.
I feel like it probably won't, but it could.
It could get in, especially if like some of these later movies aren't good, I would say.
It's just like historically, yeah, I mean, the last one to do it was Toy Story 3.
Now, I personally think this is better than Toy Story 3, but I don't think actually quality matters. I think it's just the perception more than the actual movies. Dune Part 2, costume design and makeup. Costumes are great. I agree. I don't know if it'll win, but
Yeah,
it
I don't know if
could.
I don't know if it'd win either of those.
So what is going to get costume design this year? Just quickly.
I
Maria,
mean, there's a lot of shit. So,
Maria Gladiator, Dune Part 2.
I mean, we just mentioned Saturday Night. It could get in that. Um, but like
Emili
it could be
Pérez,
Gladiator again.
Gladiator. I don't know. It's gonna be tough.
The first one won costume design.
And makeup and hair. I actually think, what if The Apprentice got in? Or The Substance actually would be my pick. But those two, I think, are the most impressive so far for me.
Substance should probably win it.
I actually think Apprentice is really impressive too to me. It won't get
It
in.
is, but I don't think like it would get in.
And do you think Searchlight will go comedy musical at the Globes for?
No, because it's not a musical, and I don't
Correct.
think it's a comedy either.
Correct.
So
This one is from Chien Ming Ma, who has emailed us before, Joyce. He's our only, as he calls himself or themselves, your only fan in Taiwan.
it's good to know we have one.
We've got the one.
Yeah.
Hi, Joyce and Chris. This is my second email. Sorry I don't have anything really special or insightful to say about the Oscar race on current films, like the Davids and Mike, but I still have a few basic questions. When you mention film Twitter and normies, what kind of groups are you describing? Since Twitter is not popular here in Taiwan, we mainly use threads, and I only use Twitter to follow Shohei Ohtani. I don't quite understand the dynamics on Twitter, but from my understanding, Twitter tends to be much more bigoted and racist. So when you say the film Twitter will like it, does that mean the film will be more likely to appeal to lower class people or incels? Also, does quote normies just mean average people? Thank you if you can clarify the meaning. I can't grasp the idea when you describe the film being liked by a certain group and not favored by the Academy.
Oh my God, I love this question so much.
So go ahead, Joyce.
I just love different cultures.
Yes, go for it.
I've never been on Threads. So what is it like over there?
I don't know.
Oh my God. Please tell us what it's like on Threads. But yes, normies are just regular people. And like I would say like general audiences, people who don't follow the Oscar race closely.
Yes. I don't
Like
I
they
don't
see movies to be like mostly entertained, you know?
I am a normie. I'm
Yeah,
happily
like I'm a normie
I
too.
don't
Like,
think it's pejorative. I don't think it's
no,
like
it's
a
not.
it just is like I'm just watching like Nickel Boys is not for normies. I would
Yeah,
rather
Nickel Boys is
see
not for normie. Like highbrow stuff is not for normies.
no. And I like highbrow stuff, but it has to be like kind of normie. So there you go.
And how would you describe film Twitter? It's just so there is um there like fandoms of like certain things. There's just like a corner of Twitter where like, you know, people who like that thing just talk about it and then like those are your mutuals, right? Like I love tennis. So I wouldn't say I'm part of tennis Twitter, like just like I wouldn't say I'm part of film Twitter, but like a lot of stuff on my feed is tennis Twitter stuff because you know people live tweet matches, right? And just like tweet like clips and gifs of like the matches or just funny moments or whatever. Um and yeah, so like film Twitter is I would say mostly people who follow the Oscar race.
Hmm.
Um and a very excitable bunch. I would say a lot of cinephiles part of it too. Love movies, love the integrity of the theatrical experience in cinema, love auteurs like Marty, the Three Amigos, all of that.
I think that's right. I would use film Twitter more pejoratively than normies, personally. I would also say like I think it's also like a huge group think and like have to think the right way. Film Twitter is like I haven't seen it and it might be bad, but I'll use Joker Folie Do. Joker Folie Do is hated, and people are feeling very confident and allowed to talk about how much they hate it. And I think whether they hate it or not is irrelevant because I just feel like, and I haven't seen it, it might be terrible. Like based on everything I've read, not sure I'll love it. But I think it's over the top and like a consensus kind of thing where you feel like, oh, I got to say this to fit in. It feels like a lot of fitting in to me, a lot of the takes. There's not a lot of
Yeah,
thinking on
there's
your
like a
own.
definitely, I think, yeah, a lot of people like immediately after to see a movie or like when an embargo lifts, like they gotta tweet their review of the movie.
And tell me if you think this is an unfair characterization, which it might be. But I think there are like people who are considered thought leaders of the group. Like David Ehrlich was mentioned before. Or
Hmm.
like if David Ehrlich says a movie is bad, people are gonna like usually just line up with that take, right? I think, or like maybe giving him too much credit, but I do think like there is like the idea that if these influential people say something is a masterpiece or say something is good, then everybody is going to line up right behind it and say it's also good and a masterpiece, even if they're like less sure of it. And if it's thought of as really terrible or like problematic or bad, then they will also be happily to line up right behind those thought leaders who have said it was bad.
Yeah,
Depends who
and I
gets it.
wouldn't say David Ehrlich. Not, I feel we mentioned him like 20
I don't know
times.
why I love David. I'm friends with
I
him.
but like I wouldn't say like he's part of film Twitter. He's just a film critic, right? So he has
Yes.
his take on a
Maybe
film,
that's
whatever it is.
maybe it's like the film
Yeah,
critic.
but like usually because he is, an influential critic, usually one of the first people to see a lot of these films. And if he runs a review about something or even just a tweet about something, yeah, and I think a lot of people on film Twitter are looking for like breadcrumbs of these highly anticipated titles. So it's like if he hates something, it's like, oh. And then if you follow someone long enough, like him, like his tastes. So you could kind of tell like if in terms of the Oscars, if like a movie that he likes or hates would land with Oscar voters
Right.
too. And I think to go back to earlier with September 5th, I think it kind of ties in with that because yeah, like film Twitter also loves to predict in advance and prognosticate in advance, like for festivals, obviously, and everything. And as we said, September 5th was not on people's radars before the premiere, and it got decent reviews. It's a solid movie. And I think because there wasn't that groupthink already established before it was seen by anyone, it doesn't register with people like they can't accept the new reality that this could actually be a possible contender. I mean, like
Exactly.
no one is even saying it's winning except for Scott.
I think
Like,
that's true. I think there's like a reticence because it's not been given the stamp of approval by like the other voices and like they didn't get to predict it. I think that's exactly right. Okay, so that was the first part of Chan Ming's email. Now the rest, I'm a big horror head, and like I mentioned on the last email, and 2024 is shaping up to be a good horror year. Which horror movies do you think this year can have a chance to enter the Oscar race, even if it's just for below the lines awards? It seems like Nosferatu and The Substance are most likely contenders. I really hope the Academy can get rid of their prejudices. I will say it again that your podcast is about the Oscar race is the best one in the sea of similar content. Also, you're gaining popularity on Reddit. I've seen posts about Joyce and Chris on the subreddit
oh
r
God.
Oscar race. Do you think one day you will do live events like a live podcast? Thanks for your patience to read this email. Apologize for the crappy English spelling and grammar error since English is not my first language. Best regards, your only fan in Taiwan, Chian Ming Ma. Chian Ming, your English was great, and I can barely read, so I wouldn't worry about the
Yeah, it's
grammar.
way better than Chris's. So
Um, Horror movies, I think The Substance and Nosferatu are both like in play from below the line stuff. Like, I think that's
yeah,
great.
I don't know about above the line,
No,
but
and look at that, we're big on Reddit, Joyce.
I can't like I don't understand Reddit. I can never go on Reddit because I hate the fucking layout. It's so like so when like at my old job when like celebrities did AMAs and then if they said something interesting you broke it out wrote a story about it.
Gotta do it.
I despised going into a thread and trying to find the fucking answer from them because like they're so like out of order and it's like ranked by like the upvotes or whatever they're called. I hate it. It's the worst.
But if you're writing about us on Reddit, we love you. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
your
no offense to people who are on it. I just like cannot go on Reddit myself.
Uh, we have a few left here. We'll go through them quick. This one's from Max, who's emailed us before, mostly about TV, and they're backing in with another TV one, Joyce. So this one I think you'll like. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's been a while. Why is everyone being so annoying about TV? I saw multiple tweets this week praising shows like Abbott Elementary and Hacks for having a normal production schedule. I understand these have become an anomaly on streaming and cable, but let's not act like that's the case everywhere. Do people not understand how network TV works? Speaking of, why is everyone suddenly acting like network TV has just become great? I'll freely admit that I'm interested in more network shows this year than I have been in ages, but network has always had great offerings. People just haven't been paying attention to them. And is your average Gen Zer even capable of watching network shows? I have my doubts. Always appreciate your answers. Take care. That's from Max.
Uh yeah, I think like that like conversation happens whenever like it happens with like the bear too. People are like, oh, like the bear can air annually and like only murders too, like the few shows that do that. And it's like, yeah, that's just TV. That's what TV has always been. And it's just like now with excuse me, streaming and cable kind of started like, like a decade plus ago with cable too. Like they have looser contracts and fewer episode counts in their season. So people have more time on their hands to do other projects. Because on broadcast, if your show is renewed, you're usually locked in. You have like a 7-year option on your contract. So if the show like it usually happens with procedurals, like they usually last, like 10 plus years,
Mm-hmm.
10 plus seasons. So but yeah, that's just TV. And I always like mention this, but it reminds me of when Disney Plus dropped WandaVision weekly and people thought that was novel. Like that's just how TV works. You get one episode a week and you can react to that episode all together. That's why it was called water cooler shows, because you watch a show one night, the next day at work, you talk about it with your coworkers at the water cooler of what you just watched the night before. Um, and yes, I also did notice a lot more chatter about specifically with, like Dr. Pacey and like broadcast being back. It never went away. These shows were always there. And I think people don't pay attention to them because a lot of these shows don't get awards, like high profile awards nominations anymore.
I this is something that's in English teacher where it's like the idea that like the younger generation rebels against what the older generation does, right? Like that's kind of like inherent in the show a little bit. Not deeply, but like that's in there. And like I think that's absolutely true in culture. And so I think like network TV clearly can have a bounce back for like people who are whatever the fuck, I don't even know. What is this 13-year-olds generation now? Is that whatever
What is that, Alpha after Gen Z?
whatever it is? I'm like, I could see this stuff coming back around because it's gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna Netflix isn't cool. Like that's like what my parents watched. I'm gonna watch what's on channel 4 because that's cool. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like you're always gonna rebel against whatever the previous generation does. And so that's why I feel like
Yeah,
network
now there's also a
yeah.
more call, like a louder call for shows to have filler episodes again.
Yes, and longer seasons and all these things. So I
Yes.
think you'll see while the industry is completely messed up, I do think you'll maybe see a course correction to be like, hey, what if we did like 20 episodes of like a cheap show that like people like? Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
good?
and that's how you build an audience and
Yes.
fans, and they want to keep coming back, because they have stuff to watch instead of just 6 episodes a season. And
Uh,
then 3 years later, the second season premieres.
few questions left, Joyce. Maybe speed round these, maybe not. Email at slugfest@goldderby.com. This one's from Nick. Again, it's about baseball, which I don't want to like jinx because we're not going to get the Mets score until tomorrow. So when you're watching this, I might be like, fuck, I can't believe the Mets lost, but I'll read this anyway. This is from Nick. With few exceptions, this year's playoff is full of teams no one expected to be here. The AL Central is actually the best division in baseball. Sorry to the haters. So if the Mets make it to the World Series, which AL Central team would you rather face? Completely agree. The AL Central just has the Tigers, Royals, and
I love that the
Guardians.
Tigers won.
Tigers, Royals, and Guardians in the final four, and then with the Yankees. Um, all those teams are great. Again, I don't care if this will bite me in the ass. I'm like the Yankees are absolutely going to lose to the Royals, and if they don't, I think they would lose in the LCS. I think a lot of Yankees fans were like thrilled that the Astros got taken down
Hmm.
because the Astros own the Yankees, and I was like, man, the Astros are not good this year, and neither are the Yankees, and these other teams have got the vibes and the juice. If I was as a Mets fan, I would much rather face the Guardians. I think the Royals and Tigers are way more uh they're got more frisky, they're more fleet of foot and they have more vibes. The Guardians are solid, and they have like really good players, obviously. But I think I would much rather face them than those other two teams. That would be my take.
Yeah, I would do the Guardians. But I also wouldn't mind Detroit just because that's Eminem's team. So
I would love the Royals because we owe them for 2015, but I also don't want to face them because I think they're actually pretty good and they have deep
yeah, I don't
starting.
want to do the Royals.
But it would be nice to take them out, like Michael Corleone style. I want to take out the Brewers. I hate their fans, so we'll see what happens if they win today.
we're gonna
Love
we're gonna
them.
lose tonight.
They lose tonight, whatever. But if the Mets get through, they'd have to play the Phillies. Hate them. Then maybe the Padres in the NLCS, and I hate them from 2 years ago. So I'm like, we could just go through and take out everyone on the way to the World Series.
It's
That'd
so
be
funny
nice.
because like I've always liked the Padres until 2 years ago.
Oh, hated them so much 2 years ago. So smug, cheating clearly with Musgrove. I don't care what anybody says. I've never seen an ear so oily. What was on his ear? No one sweats like that. No one sweats like
I
that.
mean, it was like Justin Theroux in The Leftovers. He was
He's
so sweaty.
he's never sweated like that again. It's like not only was it just like he just sweated so wait, that was the only time he's ever had that much sweat on his ear. And we're supposed to believe that there was nothing on his ear. I mean, come on. Sometimes it's like, give
That
me
that was like that was a great day. So like to go back, there's also baseball Twitter, like NBA Twitter. So that was a great day for baseball Twitter.
what?
Baseball Twitter also is great for fights.
Yeah.
You love a good baseball
Yeah.
fight.
I
Yeah.
love trashing baseball coverage because sometimes I just think people who cover it are so dumb. The most people who write about it, I think, are really dumb. This one's for you, Joyce. It's from Jenny. Joyce, I've been dying to get your thoughts on The Dink, the new movie starring Jake Johnson as a former tennis player forced to turn to pickleball, the worst sport except for when it appears in Hacks. Jake actually seems perfect for this, and the news that Andy Roddick is going to be in it actually makes me excited. That's from Jenny.
I cannot believe Andy joined this. Um, but I mean, I like everyone involved, so I am excited for it. But you know how I feel about pickleball. But the premise is fine. Because, but like this is something that happens in real life anyway with tennis players. A lot of tennis players, after they've retired from tennis, they've just shifted to pickleball.
Uh,
But
it seems like tailor made for Jake Johnson.
yes, it was a great like 10 days for New Girl between this and Lamorne Morris winning the Emmy.
And he's great in Saturday Night. He's really good as
So
Garrett
yeah,
Morris.
and like Ben is the perfect person for this because he also loves tennis. So he's a big Rafa fan. Um,
We have
but yeah.
we have two more, Joyce. These can be quick. This one's from Marco. Hi, Joyce and Chris. What has been your favorite movie you've seen thus far this year? And what have you hated? Thanks. That's from Marco.
Uh well, yours is Challengers and Anora.
Anora 1, Challengers 2, uh, Dune Part 2, and Saturday Night are my four faves. If I was doing letterbox four faves for this
I
year so far.
think yeah, I like The Brutalist. Um Anora. Um Hard Truths I really liked. Um and I guess September 5th. So I gotta say that.
And then for hated, I don't want to say which one. There's one I can think of immediately that I would say is it, but it's not out yet, so I'm not going to say it. Um, but of the
I
ones that are
haven't I
out,
haven't hated anything yet.
I really didn't like. I'm looking here. Let me see. I mean, I really thought it feels like so easy to pile on, but I thought this was really. I just thought Harold and the Purple Crayon was like so bad. I thought it was really rough. I didn't love Beverly Hills Cop 4 either. I thought that was pretty weak. Um, and then another, excuse me, and then another movie that I will not say, but if you follow me on Letterboxd, you can probably find it. Last one, Joyce. For the week, and then we'll be back next week with more emails, especially if you email us at slugfest@golderby.com. These emails, we need your emails to do this. So you have to get us, tell us, ask us dumb questions. We love them. This one is from Brittany, who writes, Hi, Joyce and Chris. I saw that Nickel Boys has been pushed from October to December, a move that implies they think big things are going to happen. What are your thoughts on the film? How many people are going to hate the first person POV? That's from Brittany.
So that was yesterday's news on
Yes,
Wednesday. It's moving from October 25th to a platform release
in December.
on December.
I saw some people say it's doing the American fiction.
That's the positive spin on it.
And the negative spin would be it's a women talking.
Yes.
Now I said I think it'll be like women talking, where I think you get picture and screenplay, and I still am holding firm on that because everything that we said about it before it premiered at New York last week seemingly remains true. Where the people who love it think it's a five-star masterpiece, one of the great American movies in the last decade, and the people who hate it walked out. And so I think you will see that play out throughout the season as it wins critical awards. I thought moving it to later in December was great because it'll have that New York Film Critics Circle Best Picture win, which we're assuming will happen. So they'll get to say like
In the ads, yeah.
in the ads, Best Picture, New York Film Critics
And
Circle,
like tiny print too. That's it.
Best Picture of the Year. So I think that's really smart and really good strategy. And I think this is a movie that was never going to be a box office phenomenon anyway. And I think maybe having it in October would have had to get lost, frankly, by the end of the year, because I don't think it's going to like be like one that sticks around. And if it was in October, you know what I mean? Like not negatively. I just think like it would just be tough to keep the ball in the air, but pushing it in December with that New York Film Critics Circle win that we think is going to happen, it just feels like that's very smart. So I thought this was like a good move, but I think it just emboldened me more to think of it as women talking.
Well, that's funny you say that because you could say the same thing about it possibly getting lost in December because there's a lot of stuff coming out in December.
That's true too.
So Uh, yeah, like it's not gonna do gangbusters at the box office either way. So that's not like they know what their audience is. I guess it's also because the longer you hold it before it's out to the general public, and knowing that it could be divisive, there will be fewer reactions in that vein,
I
you know?
I was surprised to see on Letterboxd some people were like out on it, like fully like out. And then obviously there's like a million 5-star reviews as well. I think it will be divisive, but I do think the
The
noise
people who want to see it will see it.
and they'll love it. I think the people who want to love it will love it. I saw Jordan, our pal Jordan Hoffman, Joyce was on Katie Rich's podcast, and I saw a clip of him on it, and he was like, my mom read the book Nickel Boys and we'll watch the movie. We're like, why couldn't they make a regular movie of it? And I was like,
Mhm.
I think that'll be definitely the
It
take
was
from
just
a
like
lot
my
of
friend I told you
people.
the other day when I described it to her, she was like, I would walk out. So
And then Jordan like loved it, and like obviously like a lot of people like it. So I like nothing about it has changed. I do think this is a better. I don't know. I thought this was a smart move because I was like, oh, it'll also keep like the negative responses at bay for a while. And while there is a lot coming out in December, there seems like it's more all of the stuff that's coming out in December, at least the ones I'm thinking of, are like more mainstream titles, whereas this is like the critical
I mean,
title.
like
Like,
The Brutalist, it's coming out the same
well,
day.
The Brutalist is coming out in December, but mostly like A Complete Unknown, Wicked, right? Baby Girl, even like those are like more poppy movies. And even The Brutalist, I think, could be more mainstream than Nickel
The
Boys.
Brutalist is way more accessible than Nickel
So I feel
Boys.
like it maybe could have that like
It's just the
corridor to
runtime that
itself.
people think is or find like off-putting. But we had a conversation the other night with someone, and I think we convinced them to watch The Brutalist because they were like, I don't want to because it's so long. And we're like, no, it doesn't feel like 3.5 hours.
I mean, like truly, it feels like, this is a lot for a lot of people probably to be like, oh, you just watched two movies in a row. But I mean, it does feel like two. It's not like they're separate movies, but they are because of the intermission and because this what the story is being told and then completed. It does feel like it would be like Godfather Part Two and One and Two like back to back. I don't think it's like not to like compare it to The Godfather, though people probably have. But I'm like, it does feel like two distinct movies that are of the same thing. Whereas like Killers of the Flower Moon was 3.5 hours and it just felt like one long movie. This feels like because it just feels like way more poppy the way it's put together. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad move for Amazon MGM to move Nickel Boys. And yeah, and if it like really like hits with like awards nominations in December, that like that's the way they can expand in January and obviously use all those nominations and awards in their marketing too.
It's gonna be great. I can't
For
wait.
it.
I can see
So,
the ads now.
mhm.
I also think it's like obviously Amazon's biggest priority this year, right?
Yes. Well,
So
it's definitely their, most acclaimed
yeah.
film. So,
Uh this is it, Joyce. That was it. So email us at slugfest@golden.com. We'll do more emails next week. And we'll be back next week with more stuff. I don't know what we're gonna talk about next week. I guess we'll figure it out. Blitz, I guess we'll do next week.
it's finally premiering in London.
We can talk all about it. We can handicap how it's gonna do.
You
I
can
can't
talk
wait.
about the song you didn't know was original.
So good. It sounded so realistic. I didn't even know it was an original song. Sounds great. All right, talk to you then. Bye.